Good morning and welcome to Sunday special of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Today is a day when we have just celebrated Human Rights Day. And according to the philosophers, though the human rights have been there right from the day one, there has been a concern for them. But the emphasis on them has been seen only in the recent years. As a matter of fact, for the first time, when, after the War of Salverino in Switzerland, Henry Drouin started Red Cross, the concern for human rights was noticed. Then came the Geneva Convention. I do not deny that different religions have called for equality. In Hinduism, we have seen how Lord Rama, ate the leftovers of a tribal woman. We have seen how Krishna befriended a poor Brahmin, Sudama, and not only befriended him, invited him, washed his feet, fed him. But these were examples. Even Jesus Christ said, "Blessed are the meek, for in them lies the kingdom of the heaven," on the Sermon on the Mount. But the concern that the Sikh gurus had for the human rights is overwhelming. They created those concepts and incorporated them in the religion. That those concerns for the human rights, for gender equality, for code of conduct and ethics in everyday life and in war especially, foreshadows what human beings thought of codifying in Geneva Convention or establishing Red Cross. Guru Gobind Singh said, "Manas ki jaat sabhe eke pehchan," that the whole humanity is one caste, one group. You cannot differentiate on the basis of caste, color, sex, and creed. The concept of racism was derided. And do you know the first 5 selected Khalsa belonged to the lower classes. His generals were even Muslims. Muslims fought for him against the Mughals. Now, can there be anything more example? Then they fought for the gender equality right from Guru Nanak to Gobind Singh. Soko manda aki jit jamme rajan. How can you criticize or condemn a person who has given birth to the kings, said Guru Nanak. But as the time passed, the fighting spirit of Sikhs often overshadows other aspects. And it's forgotten that the Sikh religion is inherently, essentially, based on the concept of a classless society upholding human rights, not only of the followers of Sikhism, but even of the opponents. This is something which you would not find in any other religion. Imagine that you are fighting a war for your life or your existence, and you supply water to your enemies. Even in Red Cross, you supply to both the armies, but then you are not fighting the war. Here the fighting soldiers were directed to apply the human values. They could not harm a person who has surrendered the basic concept of Geneva Convention. He had to be treated with respect and regard. As I said the other day, Guru Nanak was the first socialist. and he spoke against the exploitation of the poor. There's a story of him, Bhai Lalo and Malak Bhago. He went to a village where the landlord was giving host to a feast. He refused to go to the feast. And when asked why he was refused the feast, and he was staying with a carpenter, Bhai Lalo, he picked up the bread of Bhai Lalo and took a piece of bread from the Malik Bhago's splendid table, pressed them in hand, and then they saw that from Bhai Lalo's bread came milk, and from Malik Bhago's came blood, the blood of the poor whom he had exploited. This presentation, though a parable, shows his concern and his upholding the rights of the working class. Could anything be more protectionist of human rights than at the village, where the landlord is deemed even more powerful than a king, because going to a king might be difficult, and his word is law? You dare refuse it, go to a scheduled caste, a lowest class person, enjoy his hospitality, and protect him. The next Guru Langar started the concept of Langar, Guru Angad Dev, where everybody had to sit and partake of food. So much so that when Emperor Akbar, the Emperor of India, came to visit the Guru, he was first asked to sit on the floor along with the hoi polloi, the lowest of the subjects, eat there, and then the Guru would meet him. So the emperor and the lowest person at the same level. Is that not a concern for the human rights? Amar Das made downtrodden women a bishop. Of course, at that time there was a bit of a change. And that no Sikh would say it, but I, though belong to a Sikh family, didn't like it. His daughter made him promise about the throne, that who will follow him, and she said that it should not go out of the family. So meritocracy was replaced by dynasty. And that was something which you can say is not appropriate, though dynasty has been a part of the cultures all over the world. But barring that, Guru Amar Das was the first person who made women preachers and even upgraded them to the level of a bishop. Then Guru Hargopal, he was arrested, sent to Gwalior jail. And you know, the Sikhs celebrate Bandi Chhod Divas. It is Bandi Chhod is release of the prisoners. That is the actual meaning. There were 52 other kings who had been imprisoned by Jahangir, and Guru Hargobind refused to leave the jail till others were released also. Is that not a concern from the human life? So Sikh religion, right from the word go to the last Guru, is permeated with concern for humanity, with concern for upholding human rights, gender equality, is an open spokesperson against oppression, exploitation, and things like that. Now, you must be wondering, when I talked of us Sikhism being a precursor of Red Cross, and nowadays you are aware that langar, the concept of langar has become very common, which is a free food to anybody. And before I go further, let me tell you another thing. You might have gone to the mosques, to the temples, and to the churches. They all open on one side. Churches mostly point to the east, because in the east a star appeared, and that star of Megai guided the wise men to the place where Jesus was born. Temples also open to the east or to the north. All churches masjids open towards Mecca, Kaaba. But if you've gone to the Gurdwaras, you would see that every Gurdwara is open on all the four sides, signifying therefore that there is no discrimination. And when you go to Gurdwara, nobody says you are not welcome. You go there, you stay there. There are places for poor people to stay. You eat there, and nobody says to which religion you belong, or to which caste you belong, or what's your sex. Are you a LGTB or are you a cross-gender? No. You are given food without a question. So langar was a basic concept, but people are not aware of one thing, that this opening on the four sides foreshadows the concept of equality that is hallmark of all jargon today. It may not be practiced, but it is preached that all are equal. But then, now coming to the Red Cross, there's a story that there was a Sikh follower of Guru Gobind Singh. And when the war was taking place, he will take water with him and give it to the soldiers. And then Sikhs observed that while he was giving water to the Sikh soldiers, he was also giving the same water to the Muslim soldiers, the enemies. They were really annoyed that we are killing them and they are killing us, and this guy is going and supplying water to them. So they complained to Guru Gobind Singh. He was called by Kanhaiya was his name, that why are you giving water to the enemy? And he said, I don't know when the war is taking place and the people are falling. In every fallen soldier, whether he is of your army, our army, or that of an enemy, I see your face. I see the face of the Lord in a fallen soldier. So I give water to my Lord. The same concept, man was created in the image of God. God was created in the image of man, or a man is the image of God, has been put up in a real form. That even your enemy, when he is fallen, is essentially a human being. And this essential humanity expects that you have compassion and empathy. Guru Gobind Singh got up, called him, nearer him, hugged him, then gave him ointment, salve. He said, no, go, and don't only give water to soldiers of both sides, but also apply this salve, this ointment to the wounds of the people, cure them. This was the birth of the Red Cross, which is often ignored. Not the war of Salerno, where Henry Durant started the medical services. This was possibly the first ambulatory service during war without discrimination between one fighting force and another. Then the Sixth Code of Ethics is the genesis of the Geneva Convention by which the modern diplomats and the politicians swear. And it clearly states no rape of women, protection of all women, protection of the innocent, but protection of the people who are not fighting. So the civilians cannot be punished. Women have to be protected, old have to be public, non-fighters have to be protected. Then no looting. At that time it was a common thing that a victorious country would start robbing and looting the defeated one. And it was a clear instruction that they are created to protect, not to rob. So the concepts of Geneva Convention, the concept of the human rights, the concepts of the Red Cross And these are the things by which we swear nowadays. They are great. What they are 500 years back in Sikhism. And they were not only preached, they were practiced. Can you show me any other example in the history where a religion ordains such responsibilities that you show compassion and sympathy and help even to the enemy? Nowhere. Can you show me a single religion where women have been made bishops? Not even today. Some people might say, well, Islam has the same thing. Yes, Islam says all are equal, but women are not. You are aware of that. A man can marry 4 women. A woman cannot have 4 husbands. If there was equality, then the women would have the same right as a husband, as a man. But it's not there. I'm not criticizing Islam. Islam is great that it doesn't differentiate between the people. At the time of namaz, the highest and the lowest pray together. But that's only at that time. While Sikhism says it's equality at all the times. Islam also says zakat, charity. Sikhs call it daswand. 10% of your income has to go to charity. That I'll take up the other day and in another episode when I'll talk about the comparison between Sikhism and Islam, Sikhism and Jews, Sikhism and Christianity, how these religions have some similarities, but lot many contrasts are there. And when the people say that the replica, they are not. Of course, Sikhism came long after the other organized religions. So it was impacted by those religions. But this concern for the human rights was there inherently in the Sikhism. And then outstanding example of Sikhism, concern for the human rights. What are human rights? Right to life, right to do what you want, right to practice the religion you want. Sikh religion was the only religion which, as a group, as a religion, protested against the conversion. While nowhere being the proverbial dark age, today's world suffers from serious problems and issues related to religious pragmatism, dogmatism, and suppression of secularism. Now, Guru Gobind Singh was 10 years old when the Kashmiri Pandits, the perennial sufferers, like the Israelis, like the Jews, they were uprooted from Kashmir because they said, they were told, either embrace Islam or leave Kashmir, or you'll be killed. So they came to Guru Tegh Bahadur and told him, well, look here, Guru, save us. We have to leave our religion. He said, no. You will not leave your religion. And they started thinking, and then Gobind Singh asked his father, what are you thinking? And he said, well, this conversion, forced conversion, is a violation of human rights. And it can only be prevented by the sacrifice of a great man. And Gobind Singh said, who can be there who is greater than you, or father? Why don't you go and sacrifice? These words of Gobind Singh show concern for the humanity. Which son who is 10 years old would tell his father to go and die? No one. And Gobind had to go. Tegh Bahadur went there. And the concern was conversion. He could easily have been converted, and not only himself, but he could have told him not to do it. As a matter of fact, in 55 years lifespan, Guru Tegh Bahadur set a stellar example as he ceaselessly strove against tyranny and injustice and paid the ultimate price, sacrificing his life. There was but one noble cause in the cherished product. Is it? Right to religion is inherent. You cannot force a person to be a Muslim. You cannot force a person to leave his religion. That's his inherent right. So Guru gave his life and showed that even in the cruel, despotic regime, people have a right to religious freedom. And not only that, because once you change the religion, you say goodbye to your beliefs and also to your cultural entity. This is akin to genocide. And one thing is to be observed is that these gurus were basically mystics. They were not activists the way we consider them to be. But intolerance, oppression, activated in them the concept of activism, and then it was non-violence. Violence was only when the Guru Gobind Singh, and then also his statement that lift up the sword against injustice when all other efforts are failed. So first is compromise, discussion, talk. So they conceive the world and perceive the world to be nebulous mountain of smoke where dimensions could be understood by sincere efforts to do good. And life's true essence and meaning lay in being poised and compassionate. And the path to a fulfillment is essentially concern for the mankind, not by worshipping a certain God, because that is your choice. So this concern for the religious freedom, for the gender rights, for the concern of the enemies in the war, these essentially constitute human rights. And that's what the Sikh gurus, right from Nanak to Gobind Singh, were fighting for and living for. And they lived in this way. Not only they preached, they practiced it and paid for it with their lives. And Gobind Singh went further. Not only did he sacrifice his father, he sacrificed his 4 sons, his mother, his whole family. And then he says, Char mohe to kya hua, jeevat kei hazar. This is what he said. When his wife said that all 4 sons have been killed, he says, what? So what? 4 sons have been killed, so what? Thousands of others, human beings, are like your children. They are living. And their life is as important as our children. Now this concept of accepting even your disciple, the others, as your own, shows the real human empathy, which is the base of the human rights by the Gurus. So human rights per se, in a codified form, were first brought up in the teachings of all the Gurus, right from Nanak to Gobind Singh, and form the core philosophy of Sikhism. It's not as much concerned with only praying, though it is, but the first is honest work, kirt karo, honest work. Thus no one the kamai. Live by the sweat of thy brow. That was the basic thing. But while Christ says at one place, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's and to the God what's God's. Six gurus didn't say that. They say no, all are equal. And give to the others, human beings, not to the gods, not to the rulers. Rulers they considered to be the army of sinners. Paap ki janjla kablon dhaya. Zori mange daan vilalo. That these kings are like army of sinners who want charity by force and forced dacoity. So possibly in a organized religion, if we have got to study, we'll find the Sikh religion's concern for the human rights and the protection even today. Two people are fighting, and if you find Sikh, mostly they'll intervene and help the poor, the underdog. The concern for the underdog has permeated the personality of Sikhs because they learned the stories of the Sikh gurus, the teachings, right from Malik Bhago onwards to Gobind Singh. And that concern of human rights, the concern for human life, the concern for empathy and compassion is the basic philosophy of Sikhism. Of course, there are other aspects which we shall take up in other episodes. But this concern for human rights is clear, prophetic. The Gurus saw that this is the way salvation of the world can be brought about, is concern for the human rights, and other things would automatically follow. Thank you.